Hi, I'm Jodhi Meares. I'm a fashion designer and big-time supporter of the young woman you're about to meet. Tara Winkler is the force of nature behind an organisation that's helping some of the world's most impoverished families in Cambodia. She first featured on Australian Story 4 years ago, but a lot's happened since then, some of it particularly unexpected. This is the continuing story of Tara Winkler and her Cambodian Children's Trust.
So today we're here to move this family from this house, which they've been living in their whole lives. It has no running water, no toilet, no shower, and not even a door you can lock at night, to a new home that CCT has set up for them. I met these kids when they were begging one evening at the local market. Both their parents have been missing for 10 years and they've been living with their grandmother. And we've been supporting them for several months now, so they attend our youth centre every day. And they're also very bright, so they have scholarships to the international school. With me today is CCT's social worker Samnang, who has been overseeing this family for the last few months. Occasionally I sort of take a step back and look at the multitude of systemic problems in Cambodia and can't help but feel somewhat disheartened. So what I'm hoping is that these group of kids will grow up to be the educated, ethical and empowered future leaders of Cambodia. This is the apartment block we've set up for some of the families in our family outreach program who are requiring long-term support. So they've built this to provide them with secure housing. The new house is very basic and very humble, but it has everything that they need. It's got electricity, running water, a bathroom. It's got even a little computer for the kids to study. So I think they'll be really happy.
Tara's a trailblazer. I think what Tara's achieved in the 6 or 7 years since that first trip to Cambodia is nothing short of phenomenal.
6 years ago, Tara came to Cambodia with nothing, you know, but after 6 years, she achieved a lot of things, helping a lot of Cambodian people, and I think that is amazing.
There have been times where it's clear she's finding it tough. She has lived through several nightmares. Things for Tara have been tumultuous in the last few years. It's been a lot of bumps and ups and downs and unexpected turns of events.
So finally the day came that we were able to offer the kids a chance to leave the orphanage. So that was the day that my life changed and I became responsible for 14 amazing kids who were counting on me. I was 22 years old. I knew I was naive and jumping in the deep end, but I didn't see any other option.
And she said, don't be scared because not have someone to hurt us.
After I was on the Australian Story program in 2010, the reaction from the Australian public was more than we could have ever imagined. We actually called it a crisis of good fortune because, to be honest, we weren't really set up to receive the influx of correspondence and everything that came in from that. It was overwhelming.
People came out from the woodwork to offer help and to donate money, which enabled the CCT to flourish to the point where it is today. I was tremendously proud when Tara was given the New South Wales 2011 Young Australian of the Year award.
Being the face of CCT is probably one of the hardest things about this job. and the part of it that comes sort of least naturally to me. I'm much more comfortable in Cambodia speaking Khmer, working with the team, than I am in front of a camera or giving a speech. But it's all part of the job. So basically I was 19, I think, and my mum and dad gave me a birthday present, a trip to Southeast Asia. So I went travelling through Thailand, Laos and Vietnam and ended up in Cambodia. And it was there where I visited a small little orphanage, and it was desperately poor, and I had never seen poverty like that with my own eyes. I've just arrived today at SKO. I actually feel quite overwhelmed. I just can't imagine that sort of reality. Like, I complain all the time about my life in Sydney, you know? And it's amazing, you know, how things get put into perspective when you're in amongst so much, you know, hardship. And I was really moved and felt compelled to do something. So I came back to Australia and held a fundraiser.
I saw that I never see her again because I used to meet some foreigners before already. They say that they will come to help us. They promise they will find some sponsor, donor to help us. We never see again.
I got wind of some concerning things happening at the orphanage, and I had no idea how sinister things were over there till I arrived and found out that all of the staff had been fired and that the kids were being abused and gross neglect. They were catching mice to feed themselves, and there was physical and sexual abuse going on.
Very bad. The bad man, he director of SKO, he raped me. And always I think about he do very bad for me. And never forget.
And so when I found that out, and these were kids that I knew and felt bonded to, and I didn't feel like I could just turn my back on them and go home. So that we got permission from the Social Affairs Department to give the kids a chance to leave with us if they wanted to, and set up a new orphanage to give those kids a new home. This is our new place. I was worried that they would be too scared, but 14 of them, the legitimate orphans, all got on the bus that day.
One minute we thought, you know, we were a long way off being grandparents, and the next minute we felt like we had 14.
I do worry about Tara. I worry about her physical safety. I worry about her because she's young and a woman in a patriarchal country, and she has to make decisions that aren't always respected, so she has to assert herself quite strongly. We registered Cambodian Children's Trust, and initially we were really just focused on the kids that were in our care.
So they sucked the juice out.
It didn't take me long, though, to realise that there were some serious problems with the orphanage model. UNICEF had released a report that found that in the previous 5 years, the number of orphanages in Cambodia had doubled, and that the majority of those kids in those orphanages had parents.
A lot of family in Cambodia, they have a big family. They have a lot of kids, like 6, 7 kids, and they don't have work to do. They don't have money to look after their kid, so they put their kid in the orphanage.
So I had these sort of moments of mild despair, you know, thinking about that CCT had inadvertently become yet another orphanage to add to that list. So, you know, basically the conclusion that I came to was that no matter how good an orphanage is, the best place for a child where possible is in a family.
It was understandable that after the Khmer Rouge that people realised that there were a lot of orphans and they had to be accommodated. But just like in Australia, where we don't put kids in orphanages anymore, we put them in foster care and we enable their families wherever possible to keep their kids with them, the same applies to Cambodia.
And so we worked then to start setting up foster homes for these kids. So now all of the kids that we support at CCT are living in a family, and we support lots of different kinds of families.
From time to time, I go to each house, each foster home. I can see with my eyes what has been changing since we started to change our style of working to have these children and families. Most of the children are smiling and they are very happy. They work so hard, not have many problems with each other.
CCT looks completely different now to what it did a few years ago. It was set up as an orphanage, but now it's better described as a community development organisation. So every day over 100 kids from the local slums come to our youth centre and our kindergarten, where we provide them with meals and we put them through school and provide them with supplementary education and healthcare.
We need support in all areas such as health, social and education for children. Having worked with CCT, I believe the organisation has been a big help in lightening the burden of the Battambang authorities.
Of course, life never goes totally smoothly. There's always going to be hiccups, and in this case, there's much worse than a hiccup.
An ordinary day in September 2010, all of the CCT kids and 15 CCT staff and my dad, who was visiting at the time, and I all went on an excursion to the local pool. And then just as we were packing up to go home, little Jandar, who was one of the youngest that we had at the time, a very cheeky little thing, decided that she would take off her life vest and hop into the big pool.
The next thing we know, they'd found her at the bottom of the pool.
And by the time we found her, it was too late. And I was shattered. Worst day of my life. You know, I'm not one to have favourites, but we were close, Jenda and I.
I love you. She said that I cannot handle it, you know. It's too much. It's too much for her to lose such a bad thing like that.
In the end, the report came out that there was sufficient supervision, there was well-trained staff and all that sort of thing, but these awful accidents happen, and the best way to make sure they don't happen is by making sure all the kids can swim.
Drowning is the leading cause of death in children in developing countries like Cambodia because kids don't grow up learning to swim. So in Jenda's memory, we've set up a survival swimming program so that every single one of the kids in our programs knows how to keep themselves safe in and around the water. Thankfully, I did have somebody who was able to help me get through that really difficult time. So the first person I called after the accident was Carolyn.
You don't have to be beautiful.
Carolyn was a musician who was extremely gifted on the keys, and she'd been a former student of my dad's and had taught me piano a couple of times in my life. First time when I was about 9 or 10, but I didn't really get to know her properly until quite a bit later.
And Carolyn had lived for a couple of years in Vietnam, so they had a common interest in Southeast Asia and the culture, and Carolyn then went and had a visit with Tara. I think that's where the romance started.
She was fiercely intelligent and vivacious and talented and compassionate, and she ended up becoming my mentor and my confidant and my lover and my best friend.
I sort of wasn't surprised. And actually I was really happy. Carolyn was a wonderful woman and lovely for me to see Tara finding a partner at that time.
The fact that Tara had fallen in love with a woman was unremarkable. They were lovely together. They delighted in each other's company.
Carolyn was part of a circle of friends we called the Party People Collective. So Carolyn brought Tara into our midst and she became one of us.
All my friends and all my family, we may not exactly fit like a glove, but without any of you, I would not know how to do.
I remember Carolyn being sick for a while, rather complaining of IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. She had stomach pains almost always after eating, and this went on kind of for years.
So in early 2011, she was diagnosed with appendiceal cancer, which meant it spread from her appendix through her abdomen. It's a very rare form of cancer. My world came crashing down around me in that moment. I knew I wasn't going to be much use to CCT.
When Carolyn got sick, Tara came straight back. Tara was caring for her pretty well 24/7. She was also running CCT from afar.
So then over the next 6 months, Carolyn underwent 12 gruelling rounds of chemotherapy. But somehow we managed to turn it into one of the best years of our lives.
They both realised that wasting your time being miserable is a really bad use of the short amount of time that you have left. So it was a time of real bonding for them as well.
It was about a month after chemotherapy, they opened her up and saw that she was riddled with cancer and sewed her back up again and told me there was nothing more they could do.
After the funeral, Tara didn't go straight back to Cambodia. I just don't think she had the heart for it.
Tara was a wreck. I was really worried about her. I was worried that it might have been the straw that broke the camel's back.
I wasn't sure how I was going to go on without her, but before she died, she made me promise that I would go on to live a full and happy life and make the most of every moment. So when I got back to Cambodia, finally I had a renewed sense of passion and determination. I had been on antidepressants for most of my adult life, and I've been off them now for over 2 years. Everything that I went through with Carolyn changed me so fundamentally that I no longer feel I need them to enjoy life. The first project that I got stuck into was setting up the critical thinking and ethics program that Carolyn was planning on running herself.
You tell them they'll need a strategy to be able to remember things about all of the pictures. There are 15 pictures.
I used to worry about Tara quite a lot in the early days. She was very young when she took this on. She was naive. It was a big task she'd taken on, and I don't think she realised how big it was. But now she's much more confident. She's on top of everything, and I don't have to worry about her so much anymore.
These days, Tara is considerably more aware of all of the things that are required for running an NGO. It's not just a matter of having a vision, it's being in control of a budget, it's hiring staff, it's having a vision for how you can sustainably keep an NGO going into the future.
We have about 60 staff these days. Vast majority of those staff are Cambodians. But I do have some Aussies over who are on professional volunteer contracts, and they come over for about a year and help do professional training development for the staff. So about 50 of our kids were doing really well at public school, and we've now got them enrolled at the best international school in Battambang. We also had another idea to set up some social enterprises. Firstly, because they provide training and professional development and jobs to the kids. And in time, we hope that they'll actually start generating profit, and then that profit will be put back into the rest of CCT's work.
The table one, pork sliders.
One young woman has a particularly remarkable story, and now she is the shining star of our new restaurant. Her name is Mom, and she was one of the kids that we picked up at the beginning of the first Australian story. Today we're off to pick up 4 new kids who have been orphaned from HIV and AIDS. And Mom had just lost her parents. Had spent her whole life taking care of her younger siblings and never got a chance to go to school, so was completely illiterate and sort of given up all hope for her own future.
Yeah, everything in a bowl.
And we put her through literacy classes and sent her off to do some training with David Thompson, who has a very famous restaurant in Bangkok named Nam, which is one of the 50 top restaurants in the world. And when the opportunity came up to take the role as the head chef at Jan Bai, she absolutely jumped at it and has been excelling. She's absolutely in her element now. Mom now lives entirely independently of CCT. She's got her own apartment and she has a wage at Jan Bai. She met a boy in Siem Reap and now they're engaged to get married. And yeah, it's just a phenomenal transformation. To be honest, if that's the only thing that I achieve in my life, paving the way for Mom, then I will die a happy woman.
I just say thank you, Sarah, so much.
Another amazing success story to come out of the last 6 years is Sinette, who was interviewed in the first Australian Story program and had a particularly awful time at that first orphanage. Sinette graduated year 12 a year ago and is now working as an assistant producer at a hip little radio station in Phnom Penh run by the BBC.
I really like the job so much. I can't believe that. I can't believe that I get that job, and because that job is very fun, very challenging, and sometimes it's very hard.
She is my inspiration. I mean, if it wasn't for Sinette, there would be no CCT, and I wouldn't be able to speak Khmer.
Since I met Sarah, my life getting better and better. She's everything to me. Like, I can say that she's my parent, she's my sister, my best friend, everything. I don't have a family, but I think I don't need my family because I got her.
Hi, Tara.
Hi.
How are you going?
Pretty good, how are you?
All right, good. So the first thing is, did everyone get the minutes of the previous meeting?
In the last few years, Tara's dad, Peter, and I have been really involved with the Australian side of the administration of the charity. And yes, it's overtaken our lives, but in a good way.
Good. How are the kids going at school? I'm the chair of the board and Sue is the secretary. Now, moving along to the financial report, There's good news and bad news. The growth in the projects and the development of the whole CCT program has been exponential. It's been fantastic. But of course, the hard part about that is making sure we can pay for it.
We just really have to make sure that we get the rest of the kids sponsored, and then I think that will bring us back up so that we're not kind of going into the red each month.
Every day I see the Australian dollar starting to go down, I sigh a little bit and think, OK, there's some more money I have to raise. In 2010, we suddenly found we had 14 grandchildren, and now I think we're getting up to around 200. So that's a big family.
The change in Tara has been remarkable. I think Tara learned to delegate really well, which in the end I suppose is a good thing, because she was a bit of a one-woman operation.
I've got a whole new little community over in Battambang these days. Yes, I'm not mum anymore. I played that role for a little while when it was necessary, but that isn't something that's sustainable for all those kids, and what they really need is a Cambodian mum and dad. And so that's what we've been able to provide them. And so now I'm project managing and sort of overseeing the entire team, and I now basically have 2 missions in life. The first one is to leave a legacy that I can be proud of. And the second one is to have a bloody good time while I'm doing it.
I love you, Tara.